This video was compiled using information which was made public via news or government agencies and is intended to honor the lives of those who met an unimaginable fate and also bring awareness to the unjust behaviors in our communities. This disheartening incident took place in Danville, Virginia, located approximately 150 miles southwest of Richmond, Virginia. According to the local police department, on August 9, 2020, 3-month-old Deandre Jefferson was taken to Sovah Health because he was unresponsive. The medical staff then notified the police, initiating an investigation into what possibly could have warranted such an emergency and caused the gruesome injuries. Upon arriving to the hospital, medical staff was informed that baby Deandre had fallen out of a baby bouncer 2 days prior. A search warrant for the family's residence stated that the parents had administered Tylenol as treatment. The officers who initially responded to the hospital's report spoke with the doctors and registered nurse who were providing care to the infant at the time. Both advised them that the brain injuries to baby Deandre were consistent with child abuse. The hospital transferred the 3-month-old to Duke University's Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina, where he succumbed to his injuries on August 12, 2020. May his soul rest in peace. The police investigation took a turn based on evidence collected in collaboration with the medical examiner's office, and charges were brought forth by the Commonwealth Attorney's Office against the baby's father, Antoine Juan Jefferson. The 22-year-old was arrested on Friday, August 21st in Danville without incident and charged with felony homicide and felony child abuse of his son. Preliminary reports from the medical provider revealed that the baby was bleeding from his brain. In light of the charges, Danville Police Department's Lieutenant Richard Chivis reminded the community that children cannot speak for themselves, and detectives and medical professionals have a responsibility to speak for them. The lieutenant also said, "Sometimes people wonder why it takes so long to bring changes, and that's the real reason." The lieutenant was not alone in his sentiments, as the community was not shy in expressing their anger toward the accused, and even swarmed social media comments of news articles, sharing their thoughts soon after he was charged. During Antoine's trial, Dr. Lindsay Terrell of Duke University Medical Center testified that Deandre was unresponsive, for removal of any doubt, clinically dead, and his body was extremely cold with a temperature of 90.8 degrees Fahrenheit when he arrived at Sovah Health in Danville. Dr. Terrell, who is a child abuse and neglect pediatrician, said that the baby's state was very concerning and his brain was not in a good state. According to court documents, Antoine later told Danville Police B.N. Jones that baby Deandre was in a bouncer and started crying. Then he changed the baby's diaper and put him in a car seat. Antoine further said that the baby sounded like he was crying in a strained manner. He alleged that sometime after that, the 3-month-old went limp, and in response he performed CPR, put the baby back in the car seat, and then took him and 2 other children with him to a fast food restaurant where he picked up his wife, who was employed there at the time. Antoine Jefferson told authorities that the fatal injuries to Deandre occurred when he rolled out of his bouncer seat in the living room, and also that he had fallen out of bed at his godmother's home about a month before his death. Jefferson, now 23, testified he got up early the morning of August 9th to take his wife to work, and all 5 of the family members accompanied him to drop her off. He claimed that when him and the kids returned home, two of the children returned to sleep in their rooms while Jefferson kept baby Deandre with him in the car seat in the living room. Antoine stated that he tried to feed him, but the baby didn't drink much, had a dazed look, and kept staring at the television. He said he took Deandre out of the car seat and put him back in the bouncer to see if that would cheer him up, but Deandre just kept staring. According to Antoine, later that day, while he was getting ready to pick up his wife from work, Deandre started crying hysterically, and the cries kept getting louder and louder. Jefferson claimed that when he put Deandre back in the car seat, he then tensed up and subsequently went limp. In turn, the prosecution pointed out that though Antoine did perform CPR, he never called 911 or made any attempts to involve medical services prior to taking the baby to the hospital. Court documents also stated that he took a long, out-of-the-way route, obviously avoiding several shortcuts to pick up his wife from work, while a fatally incapacitated baby Deandre was in the car with him. The experts testified that Deandre's injuries did not indicate he fell out of a bouncer seat just inches off of the floor. Dr. Terrell stated that his injuries that were observed by her and the other medical professionals were not consistent with a shortfall. She also added that Deandre had a subdural hematoma, which is bleeding beneath the skull but outside the brain and is usually the result of severe head injuries. She later clarified that his injuries were most consistent with significant head trauma. Another expert, Dr. Donna Boyd, forensic anthropologist at Radford University, said that it took quite a lot of force to fracture baby Deandre's ribs. Medical examination showed he had 3 broken ribs. During the trial, graphic pictures were shown of Deandre's brain after the skull cap had been removed for an examination of his injuries. Assistant Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Gail Suzuki said there was evidence of bleeding on the brain and the cause of Deandre's death was blunt force injuries to the head and battered child syndrome. She further compared the severity of his injuries to those sustained in a car wreck, saying she wouldn't be surprised to see these types of injuries in a car crash scenario. On June 10, 2021, Danville Circuit Judge James J. Reynolds found Antoine Juwan Jefferson guilty of second-degree murder and felony child abuse after a 5-hour bench trial. Before giving his ruling, Judge Reynolds said there is certainly no happy ending in a case of this nature. Jefferson's sentencing is scheduled for 9 a.m. on August 23, 2021. After Judge Reynolds found Jefferson guilty, an unidentified woman in the audience got up and yelled, "Y'all did this to him," before crying inconsolably while leaving the courthouse. I hope that the family of 3-month-old Deandre Jefferson finds peace and may his soul rest in perpetual peace. I would also like to use this opportunity to bring awareness to shaken baby syndrome, also known as shaken impact syndrome, which is a serious form of abuse inflicted upon a child. The baby is shaken vigorously, usually the result of anger or frustration. And in my books, y'all, it matters not the reason. It just should not be done. Permanent brain damage by destroying the baby's brain cells, a slew of other complications, and as in this unfortunate incident, death are possible results or side effects. Symptoms include seizures, irritability, difficulty staying awake, abnormal breathing, poor eating, bruises, and vomiting. In rare instances, breathing support or surgery may be needed to stop the bleeding in the brain. Treatment varies depending on complications. I understand that people can get frustrated. I'm not here to judge anybody or what they've been through, but we as a community have to acknowledge the things that take place among us that we need to stamp out and eradicate, and this is one of them. Find different ways to cope. I know that parenting can be hard and life in itself can be hard. But please, please, please do not take that anger and frustration out on a defenseless child. Thank you for watching, guys, and subscribe for weekly uploads. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and our thoughts and prayers remain with the family of baby Deandre Jefferson.